Hey crafters, in this video I'm showing you how to make this beautiful Hanukkah card. Now I know the design looks traditional, but I've added a twist to it that makes this card really unique. So let me show you how I made it. Let's get crafting. Here's the completed project that we're making in this tutorial. I mentioned that this card has got a bit of a unique twist to it. It is a traditional looking Menorah Hanukkah card, but we've added this extra element of paper construction that allows us to give the impression that these candles are being lit one by one as you would do with a menorah in your own home if you're celebrating this holiday. So let's head over to Design Space to get the project ready to go, and then I'll show you how we achieve this effect. Let's start by getting the project into Design Space. Head over to my website, LondonCraftGirl.co.uk, and you'll find the file in my shop under Hanukkah card. Once you've downloaded, find it in your downloads folder, and you'll see it here as a zip file. Simply click, and your computer will unzip for you. Open up the folder, and the file you're looking for is the .svg. I'm going to make a copy of this over onto my desktop to make it easier to find in Design Space. So I'll just do a Command C, head to the desktop, Command B. So now if we go back into Design Space, click on Upload, and now just upload the file as normal. Click Upload Image, Browse, and this is the file. So you can change the name if you want to, you can add tags to help you find it later, but if you're happy, click Save, select the image and insert. Okay, let's just get rid of this. So when the file opens in Design Space, there are going to be a few different layers. All of it is currently grouped together. You can see here in your layers panel that everything is one group. So do a right click and ungroup. And now again, if you look on the layers panel, you can see you've got 1, 2, and 3 different layers. The top layer is the menorah. This we will cut out of adhesive vinyl. The second layer is the card base, which will be cardstock. And then the third and actually fourth layers, let's ungroup this. You can see these are 2 separate layers. For this half circle, we'll use a gold glitter cardstock, and this is what will serve as the flame that will appear to light up the candle. And the full circle, you'll want to cut out of a cardstock that is the same color as your card base, so that when this is behind the flames, it just looks all like one color and that these candles are not lit at that point. The only thing you will need to do before heading to make it is with your card base layer, you need to ungroup this. If you see here in the layers panel, it is currently made of 3 layers. You've got the card base, and then you can see there are 2 cut lines. These we actually want to convert into score lines, and this is something you have to do in Design Space. Let's ungroup this, and we need to ungroup one more time because I've put 2 layers of scoring lines just to get a better score when you're using the scoring stylus. So if you now click and drag over the top of the line, you can change the line type to score. And just as a note, I always put my score lines to overlap the edge of my card, just to make sure that it goes right over the end of the card and we get a really neat fold. Now that we've done that, we need to reattach so that it will be all arranged on the same mat when we go through to make it. So now we're ready to head to the Make It screen. So you'll see that you've got 3 different mats. Here is the card base, and then the interior circle in the same material. So you could just arrange a 12 by 12 cardstock on your mat and cut both of these at the same time. We've then got a second mat, which is going to be the glitter cardstock cut. So for both of these, remember to set your material as cardstock, and you'll be using the fine point blade. And then here is our adhesive vinyl layer. You could also use HTV vinyl here and apply using a heat press. In this project, I've used adhesive vinyl. When you go through to cut this layer, remember to set your material as vinyl, premium vinyl would work, I was a bit careless when I cut this, and I actually forgot to change the material from the cardstock of the first two mats. And this resulted in the vinyl being cut completely through rather than a kiss cut, which is where the maker only cuts through the top layer, which is the vinyl, and leaves the underside backing intact. But I will show you how I still managed to salvage the project. In case you ever make a mistake like this, don't panic. You haven't ruined your material. You should still be able to finish the project. So continue, connect to your machine and cut each of the different layers. Starting with the first mat, we're cutting out the base for the card. Two things to note: I was running low on the card I wanted to use for this project, so I cut my cardstock base and the circle out of two different cards. But definitely when you're doing this project, use a 12x12 piece of cardstock and cut them out of the same colour. Secondly, my mats are pretty old, they don't have much stick left, so until I buy new ones, I'm getting the best use out of my existing mats by using painter's tape to stick my material onto the card. You could use masking tape or washi tape, something that is not too sticky and that won't tear your card when you peel it back. I do also reuse this painter's tape, so it's not too wasteful. We'll be doing a score line and a cut line, so I've loaded my scoring stylus into clamp A and my fine point blade into clamp B. Then I'll simply load my mats, hit the flashing arrow, and then when design space prompts, I will hit the go or the C button. Once the machine has finished the cut, before I hit the flashing arrow to unload the mat, I always check that the cardstock has cut all the way through properly, and only then will I eject. If you find that it hasn't completely cut through, maybe because of the weight or thickness of your card, just hit the C button again and your machine will recut in exactly the same positions, and that should help to get a clean cut through the entire depth of your material. Next, I'm cutting my adhesive vinyl, so again I've taped it down and I'm using the fine point blade. As mentioned, I did forget to change the setting to premium vinyl, and I'll show you how I still managed to do my transfer successfully onto the cardstock. Finally, cut your glitter cardstock layer. Again, use the fine point blade and make sure to check before you unload that it's cut through properly. With glitter cardstock, this is especially important because it tends to be a bit thicker, and so sometimes it does need a second pass. Okay, so let me show you what went wrong with my adhesive vinyl. You can see that it hasn't done a proper kiss cut. The cut has actually gone the entire way through the vinyl and the backing. So I decided the best way to weed this and get it onto my cardstock was to do what's called a reverse weed. The first thing I did is to trim down the decal. There are a few scraps around the edges that I may find a use for, prefer not to waste them. Then I've taken a piece of transfer tape and cut it down to size to match the decal. So what I've done now is I have peeled the transfer tape off of its own backing, and I've placed that backing on my working surface. Before we do any weeding, we will lay the transfer tape down on top of the entire design. In a normal transfer that you're probably used to, you would normally weed the excess parts from your vinyl away and be left only with the design you want to transfer. But with a reverse weed, you're doing the exact opposite. You put the transfer tape on first and then you're going to do your weeding after. So flip this over and peel off the backing of the vinyl. Once you've done that, you can now start weeding. Because I've got a text layer attached to the Menorah image, I will weed around the lettering first and then cut this portion away. It's just easier to handle the overall decal like this. So once you've finished doing the reverse weed, we can apply the decal to the cardstock. A good way to do this, to make sure that you get the right alignment, is to place the transfer tape with the weeded design on it back onto the backing paper of the transfer tape. This way, you've only got a smaller section of the sticky part of the vinyl exposed, and you can use this to line up the design in the exact right place. Now you can peel away the backing paper, and you should have your design perfectly aligned. Finish burnishing the design onto the cardstock and slowly peel away. Now we need to construct the inner mechanism. take some tape. You could use prick stick, double-sided tape. I'm using a tape roller, and glue the glitter cardstock, the half circle, on top of the full circle. And you'll see there are little circles cut out of the middle of each of these, which you can use to correctly align them. Once that's done, you need to get a split pin. I found these really beautiful ones on Amazon which have a little gem in the middle, and I've linked these in the description below. Push that through the card layer, turn over, and then place the circle layer on top. And now you can open up the pin, push it down tight to hold everything in place. And guys, we're finished. That is the project. So let me show you how this effect works. As you spin the inner circle, you'll see that the candles appear to be lighting up. You'll notice in the design that I'm showing you in this video, the middle candle has been left unlit. I have since corrected the design, so in your download you'll find that the middle candle is pre-lit and only the ones around the edges are being lit as you rotate the inner mechanism. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed my tutorial and found it easy to follow along. If you're looking for a couple of other ideas on how to wrap gifts this holiday season, take a look at these videos on origami style wrapping and on beautiful gift boxes you can make with your Cricut Maker. To those of you celebrating, may your Hanukkah be filled with peace and light. I'll see you next time. Until then, happy crafting!